All right. Who's next?
Okay, the next is from Anne. She says, I know that I need to stand up to our government officials, but I have a perpetual complacency that's difficult to overcome. What can I do?
Well, it's the energy. She likes it. See, resentment depletes you of energy and it robs you of initiative or makes you too much of a big mouth. So if you ever become a bureaucrat, you'll be as bad as them. See? See, so, excuse me. So therefore, she needs to learn to overcome the resentments, because everything you see about government is insanity. There's nothing they do that's sane. Nothing that makes sense. For example, you want to overcome, first of all, they caused the problem. Let me show you how they did it. Very quickly. First of all, that your wife intimidates you. Before they control you, they intimidate you. And so the government, not the government, but what was to be our government, the shadow government, which is communism, we have now a communist government. It's the shadow government. It wasn't our government. But it had control of the media and the schools and the unions. And so they slowly degraded your children and kept on saying over and over again, the economy's bad, the economy's bad, the economy's bad, when it was good. And so the economy gets bad because it's all in the head, isn't it? Everything is in your head. We know that the economy, if you think the economy is good, the stock market goes up. Just get people to think somehow, give them a little confidence. Confideo is with God. Con with fidelity, with God. All of a sudden, everything's worth more. You got confidence, you're worth more, right? But if you haven't got confidence, if you're degraded, you're not worth much. And so you have several generations of kids are not worth much. That's creating dependency. And then but now they're promising that if we get into power, we will give you welfare, we will give you school grants and God, all kinds of things. So naturally, you've bred a generation of degenerates, the people who are dependent on other people's welfare. We're breeding out the good ones. This is how Russia, became Russia, Soviet Union, and how they took over 1/3 of the world. And we have to fight them. And how Nazi Germany became Nazi Germany. Because of the bullhorn and the media. And the Jews are worms and they eat the children's blood and make matzahs out of their blood. All kinds of lies. You see them lying and lying and lying and lying and lying. And it irritates and irritates. After a while, you start to believe it. You don't even notice yourself believing it. Contradiction is reality, reality is contradiction. But now, all of a sudden, you find people who have no common sense, they're upside down, but they think you're upside down. So naturally, you've got more of them than there is of us. So you put Barney Frank in there, scumbag. Would you want to put Barney Frank? Knowing what he is and what he does. He has the strange friends. And he loves everybody, and therefore everybody loves him, and he wants to do everything for everybody so homosexuals will be loved in the world. You don't want people like that in power, but those are the people that rise to power. And then those people will give rights to all the wrong people. And then you have a system that's upside down. You've got rights to all the wrong people. You have the wrong kind of policeman, you'll have the wrong kind of eventually you have the wrong kind of army. Right now, I don't think we have the wrong kind of army. They better watch out. There's 1912 coming. They better watch their P's and Q's, because this is not an ordinary country. We still got half the country that's got sanity. See? So, you see how we got here. And they created, then they stole all the money. They gave all the money away from Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. They took the money, gave it to themselves and their friends, bankrupted the country, created this crash, and now all your savings are gone. You've trusted all the wrong people. The money isn't there. It's given away. Now they've got the money. They put it in gold. They put it in investment. And they're going to give you paper money in exchange. See? And so they blame it on Wall Street. Well, Wall Street is not an angel. because there's blame to go around. And so we're now dependent upon them printing money to set everything, the economy in motion, and many of us are not so sure. We have more sense than that. And besides, it won't cure the problem. Our money is the best money was the best in the world. It was the almighty dollar. It has stability. There is no other country that has stability, and now we don't have stability. We're falling apart. If your money's not worth anything, then what is it? It's just pieces of paper. In Germany, eventually money became so inflated that your whole life savings, you could take a whole wheelbarrow of your money, of marks, and put it in a wheelbarrow, and you couldn't buy an egg. No wonder they were angry, right? But that's what happens inflating there. And then you have dictatorship. You have chaos. You have anger. And a person who knows how to control your anger and act through your anger rises and fixes everything. But you have to fix everything according to his will.
So you get the far left, and then you get the far right.
The far left and the far right are as bad as each other.
And they both meet right down.
So in Europe, you had the far left, which was socialism, communism, and then you had fascism. And if you were a normal person, especially Jewish, but if you weren't a believer, one way or the other, whichever country you went to, they would kill you because you weren't one of them.
Choose your devil.
Now, what we have is, on our borders, we never closed. Our country is invaded with all kinds of people that shouldn't be here, terrorists, and guns are available. Didn't have to bring anything with them. You can buy it anywhere. And Mexico is about to collapse. Our country is full of drug addicts, so there's a demand for supply. So our addicts are not our friends, because the drug lords are their friends. So we got all kinds of problems. I mean, we are going to be surrounded. It's going to happen one day. For food, we'll be surrounded. The cities will be burning. There's chaos coming. The whole purpose is to destroy capitalism, destroy the will of the American people. The whole purpose. And what better way to do it from within, from the schools, the government, the drug pushers. What better way of doing it? Who was the richest people? People in pornography, the people in drugs, legal and illegal. You know, when Al Capone was, it used to be prohibition, yeah. Al Capone flourished because he would give the people what they wanted. And gambling, number rackets and all the rest of it. And so the shadow underworld was getting stronger than government. So now the government is doing the same thing. They're gambling. We got Las Vegas. We got Atlantic City. You see, and prostitution and perversion is allowed. I mean, we're giving legal drugs for every ache and pain. So we have a government that put Al Capone to death for doing the same thing. I mean, he died.
Competition.
Yeah, it's competition. See, we didn't know how to solve the problem, so we became the problem. So we became the thing we hated. Everything's upside down.
So there's a concurrent theme here with all these people texting in. They're all angry. They see the hypocrisy. You know what's going on, but they're waiting for you to explode, and then you will not strike if you need to, because you won't have your composure.
You won't have your composure because they will have the power and you will have given it to them, and so that when you finally stand up, you've got nothing to stand up with.
You folks out there who are bright and angry, and you see the Michael Savage types guys rallying and they're all angry, don't let them set you off. Find that objectivity. You may see that a Michael Savage is basically saying the right thing, but he's got a spirit of anger and rebellion in him that is not healthy.
Yeah, he's what he's doing. I like Michael Savage. Yeah. He's very good. He's entertaining. He's saying the right things, but he's acting as a valve. You know, he's he's giving voice to the people. But then they say, go get him, Michael, go get him, Michael, but they don't get him themselves. They don't organize. The illegal aliens can organize, millions of them, we can't organize ourselves. We can't object to taxes or the Treasury Secretary being elected, being a scumbag himself. We won't do anything.
I noticed that we've got in Portland, they've got a homosexual liar pedophile as a mayor, and nobody goes out and pickets, not even on the weekend. You got a job on the weekday, sure, you're a conservative, you're working. What are you doing on the weekend?
No, they're afraid they're afraid the media, the media has power, so they'll focus on you and call you a homophobic, a hater, and of course, political correctness being what it is, you lose your job. Me, I don't lose my job. This is my job.
Yeah, you do your own thing.
Please support me. That's why I say, support me, others won't be here. I'm trying to help you to become strong. I want this nation to be individuals. I don't want a church of little feeble wannabes. Thank you.
Okay, we have a question from Dan. He says, why do I feel the physical and emotional pain of my dark side? How can it feel pain? It goes away when I meditate, then it comes back later to haunt me.
Well, maybe you're going away, maybe you're meditating and you're becoming hypnotized, because you could be mesmerized by that meditation, It's not impossible if you're caught up with the words. You can actually listen, you'll be caught up in my nice voice, and then sort of go off and wander off so that you don't see. It's like a mantra. The way you get rid of your, the repetitive thoughts and your anxiety is, some silly holy word, which is really a nonsense words, but you don't think it's nonsense because it works. Hare Krishna, Om, Om. There's no place like Om, Om, Om. And you go, this nonsense, Om, and you become more perfect at saying Om. And you get, there's a championship, who can say the best Om? See? And he becomes chief cook and bottle washer. See? But the point is, while you're saying that, it's not associative. You can't think of your mother or things that bother you. Like they keep reoccurring in your mind and you struggle with them. So you put that in its place. And if you put that noise in its place and you sit in the chariot of that noise, to use a metaphor, you can drift away from God. You got peace apart from God, but not with Him. So you can meditate and do the same thing. I can hypnotize you, and I don't mean to. That's not designed for that. But I know how to hypnotize you and make you feel wonderful. I can tell you that God loves you as you are and arouse you, say the same words, and be a very inspirational preacher, and everybody hallelujah and sing songs, praising the Lord, and you go home feeling better, but you're not any better. You have to come to church for the next week for the fix again. See that? Did I answer the question?
Well, yeah, the first part of his question was, why do I feel this physical and emotional pain in my dark side? So are you saying that that's more reality and he's putting out the reality when he meditates?
That's right.
Okay.
That's well said. So don't misuse you. A lot of people get caught up with me and misuse me. They get caught up with me. They put me on a pedestal. And when they put me in a pedestal, I'm standing between them and God. That's what the minister does on the pulpit. He gets in the way.
Using the medicine as a drug.
Using the scriptures as a drug.
Nicole is asking, can a person forgive before they meditate?
Well, it's possible. But that's why you meditate, to experience God's forgiveness of you. Because once the load is lifted, and you see the folly of judging others, because when you're judging, aren't you playing God? And when you're forgiving, aren't you also playing God? See, if you forgive without being forgiven, without knowing true forgiveness, which means then a relationship with your Creator and a purpose-driven life, I suppose that's a good way of saying it. But if you are a human being and you start to forgive people, and you're in the forgiving business, or even quoting, like, Daddy says, you got to give me your dinner or your ice cream. See, so if a preacher can get between you and God and says, Daddy says you have to do this and you have to behave like that, he's in the way. You need a relationship with God. Daddy says you're forgiven, but you can't believe him because he's just gone to church. He's been to seminary, and he's learned all these words. He's no authority. He's not an authentic messenger. So you tend to obey him mindlessly, because he's mindless himself. All preachers are mindless, unless they've come about it naturally. Because isn't it natural to be a human being, or do you have to have someone teach you how to be one? How would you know they were right? You've got 1,000 versions of it. 3,000 versions. So, where was I with the question again?
Well, this is whether you can forgive before you meditate.
No, you really can't. It's possible, but not likely. Because when you forgive, you're giving somebody a pardon. So a woman has a fight with her husband, and she's kind of caught up with him. And he runs out and gets a drink and leaves her alone with her conscience, because she's got nothing to curse now and blame. He doesn't come back for a couple of nights. Now she feels guilty. And she can't wait for him to get back. And when he comes in, oh, I'm so glad you came back. I'm so sorry. I forgive you. But she doesn't realize that by forgiving her, he's giving him a pass to get drunk again. Nothing about his character is changed by her forgiveness. She's only forgiving him so he stays with her. So she can judge him again when he does something. He's going to. You're not capable of forgiving. Understand, you're not capable of forgiving. You can overlook. You can pretend it isn't there. You can put rose-colored glasses on. You can feel guilty and feel sorry that you're guilty, and then take the responsibility on yourself and let him off the hook. But that only encourages him to get away with more. You don't realize you're feeding the problem. But when you are forgiving, it means it. Now we come to the point. When you forgive, you're not judging. In other words, when God forgives you, he takes your judgment away, because you're not playing God anymore. He's there instead. Instead of you judging, like puffing up like God, looking down someone's nose, or being submissive to someone and making them God, you should have no other gods before me, right? So then inside you feel nothing before these people. So when I say to my friend over here, I'm not judging you. I see your problem, but I'm not you don't feel me judge you, do you? I'm not contemptuous of you. I treat you just as anybody else. See, there's a big difference. Now, am I forgiving you? No, I'm not judging you. See, let me say it another way. Every now and then a person will come back to me and say, Roy Masters, I have to say I'm sorry. Will you forgive me? I judged you. I hated you. I say, I can't forgive you. I don't have to. I never judged you. If you judge a person, then comes the need, then comes the pain of having to forgive, or not forgiving, so because it's weakness. Someone takes advantage of you when you forgive them. You've learned that, so you hold yourself back, so you continue to judge them. I knew you were wrong, see? So when they actually confessed to you, they made it. So you said, I knew it. You've seen this before. Everybody's seen to some degree of it. So you hold that position to make sure a woman runs away from her husband she hates, and she ought to forgive him, but she's afraid to forgive him because, well, for some reason she's experienced that forgiving him only makes him worse. So she holds on to the hate to keep him away. So in order to be secure, she has to go on hating, and then she dies from it. Who understands that? Anybody understand that?
That's a dastardly one there.
Well, see, there's psychology. This is beyond the scope of ordinary psychology and medicine. What we're doing here is going into your psyche, into your soul, with words. And somewhere inside you, there's a receptor. But I don't want you to remember the words so much, but get the point. And the point is, if you're not affected by praise, If people say, "Oh, Joe, you're so wonderful. Oh, you're a handsome man, you," don't get aroused and be puffed up. Conversely, if people say you're a dirty, rotten swine, you're a dog, you're a beast, I don't know what they say, don't be resentful, don't be demoralized. Stay in the center, balanced. And you look at those words, and neither one raises you up or puts you down. But putting you down is actually raising you up because you're puffed up with anger.
That is
so you're playing God either way.
That is so key, because they may be telling me or you that you're a dirty, rotten swine, and you are a dirty, rotten swine, but they're judging you with a bad spirit. So they're trying to pull you down out of an objectivity so God can deal with you.
Now, if I tell you that you're a dirty, rotten swine,
but you're not judging
I
me.
told you that you were one time.
But you weren't judging me, and I could feel that it was not a haughty spirit telling me that.
And then you got better.
Of course you can get better.
See? So I can actually call my audience dirty, rotten swine, and some of you say, yeah, I am that. Thank you for telling me. See? I'm not judging you. I can say you're anti-humans, you're subhuman, because anything less than a relationship with God is subhuman. That's why you die. You don't deserve to live. Try the next generation. We just put you back in the ground and reassemble the molecules, and some other kid's got a chance. The doctors are trying to keep everybody living forever. We don't want everybody living forever. We don't want Adolf Hitler living forever. It's bad enough, he's bad enough. It's worse and worse. We don't want to live together in our misery. Sometimes we shoot ourselves because we're so miserable living at all. Without purpose. Go ahead.
Okay, Anne says, I have constant thoughts running through my mind. Is this my resentment or anger?
Yeah, but it is. It's resentment. Tell her she's resenting the fact that she has continuous thoughts that makes her realize how clueless she is and how out of control she is and how not her own person she is. So she tries to regulate them, to stop them. But what would she replace them with? If she could stop them, would you replace them with some positive thinking? But that would be positive thinking wrong, because that's somebody else's words. Write poetry and so rehearse it. But that's just distracting yourself from what your problem is. Your problem is you've allowed these thoughts to get in, and they will rule you. It's coming from another place, and as long as the door is open, the door being resentment open, flying open every time you get upset, those thoughts, in will come a spirit, and it thinks through you, and you think it's you thinking, and it feels through you, and it wants through you, and you think it's you wanting. Goodbye, no life.
You may not even see the threads. You may have, like you give the old trip over the cat thing.
Yeah.
You may trip over the cat on Monday and be doing something horrible on Thursday, but you didn't see the thread from Monday all the way back to Thursday.
Exactly so.
I'm thinking a lot of the times a person can feel persecuted by their thoughts. Now, this is probably what you're saying regarding resentment, because you're resenting these thoughts, but when you pull away and don't resent them, you are free, even though those thoughts may still be there.
Correct. Yes, it's okay to have a thought and watch it and not feel dismayed, like you're failing.
Yes.
Say, it's okay to have a picture of a woman in your head where you normally shouldn't. See, because there shouldn't be obsessing, but since you're a pornography addict, it may happen. But the key is indulging it emotionally. So getting into the picture, so you have your holodeck. You know what the holodeck is? From in Star Trek? Where you create your own world, where this woman is real, and you're having sex with her. See? Or you're lost in your own. Most of us never draw a same breath. We're walking around. We look like we just talking to a person could be an interruption of the world they're living in. They resent you. How dare you interrupt me? So that's why you need entertainment to keep to feed that. There's no depression in the entertainment business. As a matter of fact, the more depressed we are, the more we want entertainment. We're kings. We just need to be entertained. Next one.
Yeah, we have another one here from Dana. Says, what do you say about Jesus drinking wine? I know alcohol numbs conscience.
No, it doesn't. I have a glass of wine every now and then because I can't eat fruit. I can't eat the fruit because of my diabetic condition. Well, I don't have it because I'm very careful. But I do, some fruit is necessary. Wine without sugar is good for you. And wine in those days was wise because the water was contaminated. That's why Paul says, drink a little wild wine for your stomach. Wine is simply a way of preserving. Now, what's bad about it is that you become addicted to it. It's actually good for you. Certain kinds of wine. For me, it has no sugar in it. It all is turned into alcohol. But the small amount of alcohol actually is healthy because it kills some germs in your tummy. Believe it or not, it's cleansing. So they drank wine, but you don't have to get drunk drinking wine. I drink half a glass a day. What's it?
You know, back when I had a want to escape through drugs, or drugs wanted to escape into me, or however we got entangled with each other, I noticed something. My friend here and my friend here, we would be getting high on whatever drug of the day it was that we could afford. Doesn't matter what it was. But I noticed something. I couldn't go as far as them into the falseness of it.
That's why. See, it doesn't work on you.
It doesn't work
Doesn't
good
really
enough.
work. No, it doesn't work good enough.
Yeah.
Because your soul wants otherwise, and you didn't know it.
That's what it is.
That's why you came here.
It's almost like having the flu, but you're still the same person, even though you've got the horrible flu. But you're still the same person in here. My personality didn't change way deep down inside here. Yeah, I've got 105-degree temperature, and I feel like crap. You know, you could be as high as a kite, but you're still in there. You're still alive. You're still conscious underneath all of that stuff.
I remember a bullfighter. He was tossed by the bull, and the camera followed him. He was dying, and his legs were broken, and he was bleeding, but he was absolutely calm while he was dying. He was still the same person, even though his body was fading. Right. Nothing changed.
There is a consciousness in there, these children of the light type people right here.
Yeah, children of light. So in other words, I hate to put it this way, but if you gave me a whole bottle of wine, I may feel a little dizzy.
Nothing would change.
Nothing. Exactly. I may have a wobble a little bit.
Yeah. Your jokes will get worse.
My jokes will get worse. No, actually not. It would affect me. Actually, what I drink doesn't. But a bottle might, and I've never tried it. But I would not be any more unreasonable. I couldn't lose myself in the, and it often happens when a person is drunk and you say your son just died, he suddenly becomes sober up.
Completely sober. I've noticed conversely
because he's lost. He's entangled with it, and suddenly it doesn't serve him anymore, so he's not entangled.
Yep, I noticed also with this guy right here that the wine would loosen up something hideous in him. Yeah, he wasn't quite conscious of it, but a horribleness would come out.
That's right. Yeah. You know, there's a way of setting aside an inhibition that had to come out.
Exactly. Some people,
he's suppressing it all the time.
Some cowardly people will start telling you the truth when they're jacked up on wine or coffee or whatever it is, or speed or pot. They'll start telling you the truth that they're too afraid to say.
That's right.
You know?
That's correct. They need it. They've got to get it out to somebody.
They've got to get it out. It's eating them from the inside out.
That's what happens when you, with spies, you get someone drunk, or there's no such thing as a free lunch, and you can loosen their tongue. You know how that is.
Yeah, the old sodium pentothal thing.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't work on me. It's like, and not you either, obviously.
Well, you know, it's funny because I can still... the drugs gave me up years ago, and things are starting to leave me. And I noticed something. I was talking to my friend in the car right here. I wanted to give them up, but I couldn't give them up because I didn't have that will that you're talking. You put it encapsulated perfectly. I didn't have the will to get them up, and then when you start looking, you realize, oh my gosh, I'm chained to it. I was so far in the dark here that I couldn't see down there and say, oh my God, I'm ball and chain. I'm stuck to this stuff. I don't know how it's creeped in or got in there, but it's here, and this is the way it is. And then because I have that spirit that doesn't want to accept stuff like that, I don't want to be a slave. It makes you stuck even more harder to it.
Because you struggle.
Because you're struggling. The fly in the spider web, and you get more and more and more stuck in the spider web. And along you come and say, just don't struggle. You'll fall out of the web, you know.
But if the fly doesn't struggle, it still gets eaten.
No, I understand that part.
But the analogy is good. Yeah. But when you don't, but in the spiritual realm, there's another dynamic. If you realize that of yourself you could do nothing, it is by the grace of that realization that enables you to stop struggling and allow God to enter to do the work for you. That's the magic.
That is so divinely simple that we were talking about our brains cannot understand that.
No, we can't, because we're so egotistical, because men are egotistical.
You were talking about
they're connected to each other.
The simplicity.
You puff his ego up, and everything else goes with it.
The same thing. You were talking about mass and space and time and everything. A 5-year-old asks those same questions. Big Bang? What Big Bang? Where did it come from? Wasn't there something before that? You asked from the simpleness, the most. Go ahead.
But the scientists just buy the idea. And they try to work everything around it. They build a cyclotron in France and Germany. It costs billions and billions and billions of dollars. And I predicted you'll have an explosion, and there's a lot of hydrogen. They had to evacuate the place, and they had to try again. They've wasted their money. They're trying to make matter. I thought to myself, how ridiculous. I know how matter is made. It takes a tremendous amount of energy. You can't believe the energy it takes to spin space-time or gravity into mass, spin it into mass, and sustain it. So there's a little story. The devil says to God, I can make a man. That's not hard. Anybody could do that. It says, okay. God says, let me see you. So he goes down to pick up some dirt and clay to make it. He says, hey, just a minute. You make that first. See? So that's already been made. What do they want to try and make mass for? They can't do it. You got to make mass. You have to know, where did it come from to begin with? What's before energy mass?
I'm sure there's a 5-year-old out there saying, what's that big stupid machine for? It already exists. You know?
But look what I say. If gravity, there's 4 fundamental forces. Let's have a little fun here a minute. There are 4 fundamental forces, and they know what they are. It's the gravity, electromagnetism, strong nuclear force, what makes the sun, and the decay of those nuclear forces, like radiation, right? Mm-hmm. I wouldn't count that as a fundamental force. It's just breaking down of a force. But never mind, they put it in together. So that's what the universe is made of. My theory is that the reason why they don't understand where mass comes from is because they made gravity a property of matter. Because Einstein did that. There's no ether. Space is supposed to be a vacuum. But a vacuum would be a void. You can't imagine a void. It would have no space, no time. It would have no sides. You can't imagine it. Space has distance. See? So let's say if it was a void, let's say there's no sides, but you have to invent a side. Then if you want to make a space, you have to take that side in half and stretch it. But if you're going to stretch it, it takes energy to stretch it. Therefore, space has energy. Especially if it's dense, if the universe expands forever, and the density of space, whatever the hell that is measured always the same. It's like an elastic band that's stretching and never getting any thinner. Something is in space. That something is gravity. It's a field that is now stuck with matter because Einstein had to get rid of space in order to allow for the infinite speed of light. Because then he couldn't explain it, but he makes the mistake. And everybody's been buying that ever since. And he made the mistake.
It almost seems like a spiritual block, because if I'm the agnostic scientist and I'm running on the wrong premise, and then you come over and show me then there's something spiritually wrong with me that won't accept the fact that you just proved God.
What's like talking to religious people? If you talk to Presbyterians, if you talk to Catholics, if you talk to anyone who's born that way and bred that way, unless they're rebels, of course, they're going to stick with it no matter what. You're born Jewish, you're born a cannibal, you're going to be always a cannibal. But what would it be if we weren't all programmed to be this or that or that or this or this or that and be loyal to whatever it is that made us? See, we can have no peace until religion is spirit. In other words, Jesus came to save us from all of the religions. Because all he did was, all you have to do is find what Adam lost, the relationship with God, where he transferred it to the woman who was owned by you-know-who. Right? And so that whole thing has come down, it's called being born in sin. The unloved woman gives birth to an unloving man. All he wants is sex to reproduce himself, and you give him a reward to make him think he's a man. Right? It's simple. And no wonder we got misery. Because there's no love in the world. He doesn't know how to say no to her. And he screws her and she outscrews him. Big deal. As the end, that's your life. Enjoy it. If you can. See?
You won't enjoy it.
But it's an illusion.
It doesn't work.
It's an illusion of love.
It's a total illusion.
All a woman does is stroke a man's ego. That's it.
That's it. She resents you for not loving her.
And she resents you for letting it happen, and here it goes. So where are we going with this? I forgot.
Find God. That's the end of the story.
Yeah. Find God in physics, because my physics is bringing us close. I'm saying the field now, I got the field. And now how does it flow? I say, well, it flows like a river. And like a little eddy spinning. The river, the little eddy is matter.
Yeah,
Okay.
Your analogy about the pool, when you sit and watch a pool, anybody's done it, and you see the shadows
Yeah, but
coming
I'm
out.
telling the audience that they've never seen it.
Yeah,
They may not have heard it.
You can imagine it.
Yeah, but so the little eddy spins, and because it spins, it is of the river. The river is the spin. The spin is the river. It's the same thing, except it's matter. It's gravity. It's actually gravity, which is a field, but it's now also mass and space-time to it. And because it spins, it goes slower than the background current, which you can't see, and therefore it has momentum.
It becomes realized.
And you have spin, charge, and momentum. You have a living thing, a thing that spins and spins, and then other things happen, which I describe in my book. Once you understand that, you have a whole new science. But scientists, there are three things you've got to be a scientist. You have to believe in the Big Bang. That's like believing in the Trinity. You don't know what the hell it means, but you accept it anyway. Well, it can't be explained, but it is. Well, I can explain it.
That's like chocolate swirl, the vanilla and the swirl and the chocolate.
Yeah. Then you have the 11 universes. That's a nutcase, because you have to find where they come from. You can't even know where this one came from. Or the string thing, like a violin strings. I tell you, it's insanity. If anybody dares to encroach upon that, if you're a scientist and you got a job and you say, well, Roy Masters has a theory of gravity, and it's gravity is of space, a property of space and not of matter, they want to throw you out.
You just shattered his whole life that everything was built upon.
Well, then in front of an audience, I will say to my physics audience, and they never said a word, by the way, I've given talks about the Big Bang, it couldn't exist. What the hell is the Big Bang, I would say. Like, I talk to them like this. Infinitely hot, what the hell's that mean? I talk to them like little kids. Infinitely dense? Are you dense? Infinitely small, the size of a pinhead, the whole universe? You're a pinhead. See? So I said, well, now, I know from you that this is matter. This is, whatever it is an unknown form of heat, but it's hot. You call it hot. You give it a name, hot. It's small. It's a thing. It's hot, dense, and small. So let's see now. Let's forget how it got there. Let's see how you got this idea, which is crazy. because you already know that space and time must coexist with matter. You cannot have one without the other. You cannot have mass without space. You cannot have space without mass, because what would it be space to, right? So you wouldn't have anything. So how could what couldn't exist in the first place create time, because you say it created time, at a fraction of a boom, time appeared. So how could mass, which couldn't exist without time, create it? In the second place, so it could exist in the first place. You people, you've been brainwashed. But I can say this, but then they kind of approach me and get my thesis, but no one will agree with me. I'm sort of like, if I was a physicist, I wouldn't be able to get a job.
Yeah, but maybe there's a few of them that finally will gather up the guts.
Hello, are you out there? Is one of you out there? Not afraid to lose your job? Maybe you've been retired or something, and you don't have to risk anything, you cowardly little thing. If I may say something here, if I was to, where's that place where they do all the experiments in dark, where they do that? Laboratory. No, in a lot of laboratory, but there's a secret place in Nevada somewhere. Yeah. Area 51, wherever they got all the toys, I would say, take this. I want to know what you got. Put it together, and you'd have a spacecraft that rides right off the ground in 1 year. Only because I've reversed what gravity is. That's all. It's all it takes. Then you find out if you're a physicist right now, Einstein and Michael Faraday both believed, and a lot of also scientists believe, that gravity and electricity were somehow connected. They never could figure it. Now you take a little river, a river flowing, and then that little whirlpool, there's always illustrations, metaphors on the earth as it is in heaven, right? And those little particles spin. That particle spin, if it was gravity making it spin, would be electric. It'd be some kind of electron. If you had two of them spinning in the opposite directions, with gravity compressing them, you'd have a magnetic particle, dark matter. Dark energy, dark matter. In my thesis, I show how that happens. And then the magnetic does what it does. It attracts. Gravity compresses. But there is space-time, because even that little particle has the river, at the upriver and downriver is space-time. And because it spins in the river, and it's gyroscopic, it resists the current. So gravity is pressing on it. This is one-dimensional model. Gravity is pushing on it with a curvature. See? And you have momentum relative to the background. It's moving. The background's moving faster. So it looks like the particle's moving, right? And everything in it's moving. We know why everything in that field is moving. It isn't spinning by itself. So you've got spin. See? And momentum. So then it becomes magnetic with space-time. Can't exist. That particle can exist, but the field that created it is also space-time to it. See? So the particle becomes magnetic. So you have the first fundamental force creates the second one immediately, and it's called matter. It's like a matter. It's electron. It's spinning stuff. It's what matter is made of eventually. The two particles spinning like a monopole is electromagnetic. Now you have the whole thing. You have the whole enchilada. But you only have two things: gravity, electromagnetism. But from those two things, the particle, the quasi-particle, attracting, gravity compressing, you get something hot, dense, and small, bang. But it isn't a big bang, it's a little bang. It makes hydrogen. That's how, and somewhere, way back there, the hydrogen stars are being manufactured by the millions. That's how you get all the hydrogen in the universe to make others. It's the cooking recipe for the rest.
Stock for the soup.
It's stock for the soup of other stars. But then you have to go to God, because then you have a spin then you have a spin force, and you have to have a spin source, and you don't dare talk about it.
There you go. There's the block. You physicists need to get over that. It's all in here.
So we got a science lesson today. Any scientists want to have me on, any physicists want to have me explain this? I've got it all written out. And I've got a thesis, and I'll have 150 pages to help you understand it, because the thesis is the thesis, and it's too hard for you because you can't grasp. So therefore I have to write 150 pages to help you understand it. I'll let you know when I'm ready. See, this is my world. You do good. Physics is wonderful. You do marvelous, magical things. Your intuition is marvelous. I go where no man's ever been before. I take the time to find out why things are so. So what you don't understand, that's what I want to understand. And that's a benefit to you. So when you're ready to debate with me, you come in my world. Like Einstein had his own world. Nobody understood what he was doing. Well, you have difficulty understanding because you think backwards. You think gravity is a property of matter. It isn't. And it can't be. And that's why you don't understand how matter is made. You bring these big cyclotrons and particle accelerators, you're nutty as fruitcakes. So you can't let go of what a lie you've been taught. Because all the other phenomena can be explained better than the Big Bang when you change your viewpoint from gravity being a property of matter as to matter being energy, gravity being a property of space. Anyway.
I was going to say, a couple months ago, on the Science Channel, they were advertising a program, and it was called "Where in the World is Wrong with Gravity?" And it sounded like
I saw it.
You did, and I missed it, and I said, well,
I saw it.
they'll repeat it, 100 times.
They still don't.
But they never did, because it's almost like they.
Well, they
suppressed it.
copied a few ideas. So at last, one of the commenters, they got this. My thesis is circulating through the universities for 2 years now. See, so I've been invited to speak twice, and not a squeak, not a complaint, not an argument out of any of them. See, but it's circulating. So they said when you move, there's gravity waves. See, you can't. It's very small, and if you hold your arms out, gravity is bidimensional and collisionless. Means it has torque, forces. See, but they flow through each other, and therefore it doesn't produce any force. But only when it spins from itself, then suddenly, the forces of gravity crash in upon it, gentle on little particles. But it's like a river. If you've got a small particle of sand, it rolls along the bottom with momentum, and it is not much force pushed against it. But if you put a great, huge boulder in it, it will take up as much of the force, and it's powerful. But gravity is infinite, so a particle could only be so big for it's crushed into whatever it is. Black holes, anything you want. Just say it, it'll crush it. But light, since it's bidimensional, light is so light, it surfs on one gravity. It surfs on one. The other one will regulate it, so it goes at a certain speed because gravity has a certain speed. It's the ultimate speed of the universe, and light is an inferior constant to it. It's the ultimate constant, but it flows through itself.
That's why light doesn't have an infinite velocity.
Light will flow forever, and if light would flow on the same line of gravity, they'll flow past each other because they carry electric charge and they go around each other. They don't cancel each other out. See? So light, but when you shoot a cannonball, you know that there's something shooting it. It's got force that's pushing it. But you shine a light beam and all of a sudden it leaps out in front of you and you can't catch up with it. Mm-hmm. Well, how's that happen? It's only because the light is carried away by gravity forces. See?
It doesn't have, exactly.
And
it jumped in the river.
It jumped in the river and it's flowing with the river.
Right.
and it flows faster in the river than you do, because you have a big fat body. See? So a little tiny particle will go ahead of you. That's all. Except with bidimensional forces, means it flows through itself. It's quiet. Out there in space, when you look in space, you're actually looking at before time existed. Time only exists when all of a sudden matter appears and it passes, but then it disappears. And we call it space-time, and we think it's nothing, only because we can't see you. We can't have instruments to measure what exists before time.
Exactly.
Gravity as space is before existence, but it makes existence. See that?
Oh, yeah.
And then it appears as a mysterious pressure against it called curvature. And then beyond that, and time. And it passes and disappears again. So it has two states at once. One related to gravity, to mass, and the other one to space itself, which it always will be. And a spooky action, speed between the two curvatures is infinite. Only inside your curve, then space and time is all squashed, and clocks move differently, depending on how big a planet you're on. See? Now, no, I've given you. How many understood a little bit of what I said? Well, they don't understand this.
Yeah.
It's all common sense. Too much common sense. They do good with what they're taught. They do good with what they're taught, but they could do better with what I'm teaching. Da 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 da. I know something you don't. You know something I don't. And I appreciate your skills, but you've got to give me a little credit. Give me a chance, if you're out there listening, that I could help you make a machine that produces more energy. That actually, listen to me. Does mass spin? Yes. I'll answer for you. Does it spin just right? All mass spin just right for 13 billion years? Yes. What spins it? You don't want to say? You don't want to talk about it?
Why did it slow down?
Why does it keep it? You blow it up, you cook it, you fry it.
Still spinning?
Whatever you do with it, it comes back and it's still the same element.
Same element?
All right. Why is that? And the element, it all depends on the spin. What is spinning it? You won't say anything. Nobody talks about it. Nobody wants to talk about it. You have to have a spin force. And if you have a spin force, you have to have a spin source. So, and that spin source has to be, and that spin force and spin support, it must have a singularity that flows and doesn't blow. It's continuous. It is a perfect. Whatever flows must flow as continuous, as smooth, just right as the particle is. It's everywhere in space. And you say there's nothing in space? So, what spins it? I'll give you the only two answers you've got. It's perpetual motion. No, it's not. There's no such thing as perpetual motion. Oh, then something is spinning it. Silence.
Backed into a corner.
I should take lessons from you.
I think by disseminating this information, you allow them. I think by the dissemination of this information, you allow them to slowly let the ego, their own personal ego blocks go down.
I don't think so. I think
and they can
the
come to a
bet goes up.
consensus. Well, in a confrontational sense, maybe they have an ego block right there, but maybe by themselves they can go, that master's
I think
right.
by themselves,
Yeah.
they make sense. It makes sense.
Yeah.
But they're afraid of losing a job.
Sure.
You won't get a job if you believe like this.
Yeah.
And therefore, you have to belong to the Big Bang Club.
No, there was that movie that guy made about.
I never saw it, but
Oh, you got to see it. We'll get it for you. Somebody
I'm
buy
too
him
cheap
that
to
movie.
buy it. I'm Jewish.
We'll get it for you.
I have to overcome.
You'll love that movie.
I have to overcome my heritage. I have to break the string.
Break the string theory.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Do we have a nice message? The new website. Is it better? I hope. Easier to navigate? I hope. And support the program with your tax deductible donations. Would you please, as you're listening to this, there's a little drop-down menu. You want to give a donation. Have a heart. Help me to stay on the air, because it costs money to do it, and I depend upon you, even though I'm kicking your butt. I hope it sort of wakens something in you, jerks something alive, and you won't be so dependent upon things. I just think of giving up resentment. Giving up resentment means you give up all the effects of stress, all the wear and tear, mentally, emotionally, and physically, financially. Everything will be clear. And, you know, you won't need your doctors. You won't need your doctors. And we'll starve them to death. We should starve them back to only a few that know what to do. And not so many competing for your servitude. And the drug companies won't go out of business. You know, I want to say one other thing. I said in 1983, or early, when AIDS came to the forefront, I said, all people have to do is zip up their pants. That's the cure. Simple. No, you can't change. Yes, you can change people. You can. And those of you who won't zip up your pants, you need to be quarantined. That's all, like leprosy. Now we've got hundreds of millions of people dying. But they let that happen. Even they gave it a political favor. It's a political favoritism now. Now you've got laws protecting the rights of people, even restaurants, to handle your food with AIDS. I don't know if there's any danger in that, but it just seems like there's danger of having them move around in society, having the mentality they got. See? So, some things are so simple, like, you want to get the economy going? Let's not pay taxes for 6 months.
Adam's just going to shrug.
Yeah. Let's not pay taxes, because, you see, inflation empowers government, and otherwise it empowers us. See, if we take the taxes that empowers government to create problems and solutions, and whenever government is involved in solving problems, especially with money, they inject themselves into the capitalist individual system, motivational system, and it wrecks it. If we had our own money, instead of paying taxes and passing it through and then giving us our own money back, what's left? I mean, that's an expensive machinery to pay taxes and give us some back. Let us keep our money, and immediately you'd solve the problem of the depression. Immediately. That's too easy. No, there's no power to them. There's power to the people. The other one, taxes, is power to the government. See? So we could run our own lives, but no, they want to run our lives. This is dangerous stuff. So I don't know if this will travel very far. Can you talk to each other about this and get groups together and march? Or you haven't got the courage, you're afraid, somebody will catch me marching and I may lose my job. Lose your job. I don't care. Fight in the streets if you have to. But the point is, if enough people would stick their head out in the window and say, I'm sick and tired, I'm not going to do this anymore, and actually do something, not just say, I'm sick and tired, I'm not going to do it, I'm not going to take it anymore. Just do something. Gather together, like if the illegal aliens can do it, why the hell can't you complain and show a force? I want a 1 million man march. I'll the head of it, but I don't know if won't get 1 million people. I think maybe there's only 10 people. I'll have 10 people following me. Well, thank you very much, and support my program. Thank you, and donate, and maybe more people will listen. bring your friends kicking and screaming to Sunday lectures. You can, excuse me, you can watch this program every day of the week, anytime you want to. So you don't have to wait till Sunday unless you want a text message questions. Thank you very much.